Brian, are you with us?
Yes. Can't you see my background? Can't you see it going? There you go.
We can
Let me
see
move
it.
out of the way. Let me show you Will. Scoring goals. That's what Will does.
All right. Well, with that,
Why we need 2 forwards on the field, guys. I'll start with that. How about that? Jackson, I know you like that.
I do like that, Coach. Let's jump right in for that subject right there. What have you seen so far in training with your 2 forward formations? What have you liked about it? What more do you want to see tomorrow from it?
Well, tomorrow's got to be a final tune-up just to make sure we've given them the right tools to be successful. I am confident that the 2 forwards. It's a good system. Regardless the final outcome of how we kind of set the team up. I like having 2 forwards on the field. I think it's going to help replace Jordan's production, and we'll have to fine tune some things for sure. It's early on. It's our last preseason game. First game's coming up. I'm sure we'll tweak some things as the season progresses, but I like it so far.
Hey, Brian, this is Jade Evans at Seattle Times. Wanted to see if you could let us know a little bit about what's going on with Nico Ladero, and then I think Jimmy Miranda too.
Jada, I know who you work for. I think you're great. Thank you for writing about us.
Thank you. Got into the habit there.
Thank you for doing that. Well, Nico and Jimmy have picked up some small little niggles, and we are working on them. They're day to day. We'll see if one or both can make it in tomorrow's game, and if not, then we'll reset for next week. And again, we'll try and get them ready for Minnesota. So that's what's going on with them.
Is there a little bit closer to a medical term than small little niggles? Can you get a little closer to words?
I would prefer not to, Jada.
Okay.
To be honest with you. Not that it's anything that's critical, but it's still preseason. And, I want to keep things a little bit closer to my chest now. Obviously, Nico's a big part of our squad. Miranda has come in with, and done fairly well. The extent of the injuries and what those injuries are, they're on a minor scale. So, we'll just proceed forward. If there was, look, Jade, I'll answer it the other way. If it was something serious, I'd probably get out in front of it and let you guys know if it was something bad. So little injuries, little niggly things happen during preseason. We're working through it.
Coach Jason Mitchell, SBI. How has Alex Roldan been looking at right wing back? I know you said that was something of an open battle earlier in the preseason. He's
been okay. He's good. He's got good early ball. He swings in a good cross. I think in that he, is the leader of that group. Defending wise, he's getting a little better. So he's improving. He's making strides. I mean, remember, this is a new position for him, right back. And then we switch formations to, maybe right wing back. And, that changes a little bit. So again, the nuances of how we, line up, with, again, I'll say it 3-4-1-2 or 4-diamond-2 or, whatever we get to, 4-3-1-2, whatever you want to call it, wherever we get to, there's nuances there that he's got to learn. So, it's still a work in progress there.
Coach, good afternoon. Bill Swartz with Como and Shamrock FC. I want to ask your thoughts about the additional substitutes for concussions and also the overall emphasis to avoid the head injuries.
Well, I think that's long overdue, probably in a lot of pro sports. Concussions are a very serious matter. Back in my day, Bill, you played through those things, is get back on the field, or, hey coach, don't take me out. And, I think overall through a lot of education, because the players get a lot of information about concussions, the union, the league, our doctors, everyone has been kind of giving them good information, good sound medical, information to help them kind of change that perception that it's actually, you're weak or you're not supposed to come off the field, that's not okay. So I think all of that messaging has been, long overdue. I think it will provide safety to our players. And then I will be, Bill, I will be interested to see, you take a player off and you're able to make a concussion substitute, but then the other coach gets to make one additional substitute. So let's see how that, plays out in a real game tactically. That'll be interesting to kind of watch for.
Have you ever had to make tactical decisions that I won't say regret, but you said, I can't take that guy out. I'm short on my bench now, or I don't have any more subs left?
Well, in my 4.5 years, the concussion protocol has been pretty strict. I have never had it was out of my hands. The medical team goes onto the field, they address the situation, and then they make that decision. I don't have any say in that.
Brian, not the whole laundry list, but what are you looking for tomorrow, from the team in terms of, is it flow, communication, ball movement? It's a practice game, but it is a game.
Well, I think, Maz, I'm looking for everything. I'm looking for Shane to, get a shot on goal. I mean, I would tell you, Maz, that the only shot on goal that mattered to me as far as, Shane is concerned is the header from a corner kick against Dallas in the playoffs. That shot was on goal, and that was a big one. But we're looking to do, one more final 90-minute game, physical prep. I'm looking for the final little tweaks on how we're going to set up our team. Raúl came back, so we got to include him in the mix. I got to get, some set piece defending. There might be a few changes on how we defend set pieces. So we're working through some of those things. So there's a lot there, Maz. It's not just one or two things that I'm looking at. I'm looking for a complete performance to see where we're at.
Thanks.
Hey, Brian, it's Nico. Talking a little bit about Raúl and how he's coming along. And how did you see him under the new formation, maybe some of his perhaps new assignments under this new style of play?
Well, it's only been 3 training sessions, Nico. So, we got to take consideration. But I can tell you from a happiness perspective, he's really happy to be back with the group. Training has been sharp and light the last 3 days. He has an infectious smile. He's a smart guy, so I'm not concerned. I'm not really concerned, Nico, that he's going to be able to pick up on some of the nuances of, playing with another guy next to him or in the same area. So I'm not really concerned. Just happy that we finally have him back, that he has his green card, and that he's, he's motivated to get back out on the field.
Speaking of forwards, Brian, this is Jeremiah, by the way. You obviously started with Will Bruin highlights in your background there. How has Will been? I know it's maybe we're as guilty of it as anyone, that he's been kind of a forgotten player, I feel like, in this offseason because of some of the other stuff that's been going on with Raúl and Freddie being back and everything. How has Will been?
He's been great. I mean, he got extended minutes on your yacht.com. So, I mean, I don't think everybody's forgotten about him. I haven't forgotten about him. he's got a nice life. We see his 2 young children. He's scored a ton of goals, in MLS. He's been a valuable member to us since he's been here. Will's been great. I like working with him. One story, Jeremiah, that I would tell you, Will's pretty fiery. You always know when he's a little irritated, or, when things aren't going the way he thinks they should go. And I actually enjoy that. It reminds me of Zach Scott, because Zach was the same way, fiercely competitive, wouldn't, because of our history together, wasn't afraid to tell me what he thought. And Will's the same way. I enjoy my conversations with Will, good or bad, because he's just an honest Midwest kid. So happy to have him, love him. He's been great.
Brian, the team announced that you guys will have, I think, 7,000 in the stands for the opener. I guess after the experience of last year, what does that mean to have that number be able to be there?
It's a step in the right direction, Tim. I would say, again, you guys have heard me say this before. I think the club has done a great job messaging this. We want the fans back. We want them back safely. Those are our 2 main drivers of all of this. It's important that we stay safe. Our stadium becomes more ominous for the opposition. It gives us a true home field advantage. We saw that in the playoffs last year. We've seen that ever since 2009 when Freddie scored the first goal. Our home fans mean a lot. So yes, we miss them. A little bit more patience. We're almost there. We're going to get there.
Coach, just one from me. It's Callum Williams at Minnesota United. Appreciate you taking the time to do this. Obviously, still a week away from the opening game of the season, but wanting to get your thoughts on Minnesota United and what sort of a challenge you're expecting next Friday.
A challenging one, a motivated team. Adrian might have thought he would come out with a better result last year in that semifinal. A team that looks good on film. Callum, we have already scouted them extensively. I know you guys had it's a preseason game. The result this morning might not have gone your way, but, we're paying very close attention because, look, it's going to be a dogfight this year. There's so much parity. You guys have done a great job. We're obviously, have some experience. But up and down the West Coast, everybody's improved throughout all the games. It's going to be hard. It's going to be a challenging season. I enjoyed Adrian's little mic'd up segment. I enjoyed listening to him. I think Adrian's one of the good guys. He's always intense, fired up. I love it. So I expect a good opening match against 2 good teams. Featuring 2 good teams, I should say.
Hey, Brian, with this preseason game coming up against San Diego, how do you manage, putting your starters out there, hoping that they do the job, but then being careful with injuries as well along the way?
Well, right now, Landon and his group of guys from San Diego, they are doing us a big favor. They're bringing enough players for 2 squads, 2 games. Everybody is going to play 90 minutes. But of course, we have some younger guys that have been with us at camp, Nico, that have done really well, that I might either reward them with a few minutes here or there, or if somebody, takes a knock or whatever, we have some subs. So the expectation is just go out and have a good game, a good 90 minutes for the entire group.
Brian, speaking of some of those young guys, I know this is a point we've harped on a little bit, but if you could speak to, like Josh Atencio's play this preseason and how he's looked.
Very good. I mean, Josh is, how do I want to put this? Josh's growth, I think, came last year when he was put in our training environment for a consistent period of time. And, the idea is always within the club to make sure that the academy works with Defiance, works with the first team, and we find solutions, and we have personal development plans and, all of those things. But players will tell you, young players will tell you that if you're on the field every day with Nico, with Raúl, with Christian, with Gustav, you learn and you pick up things from some of the senior players. So I think a lot of his development happened last year. We couldn't get him games down at Defiance, which was the one, thing that we didn't like. But so far so good, Jeremiah. He showed well in the training games that we've had so far. He's earned our consideration for playing time. So I think that's a success story.
Hey, Brian, Charles Bowman with MLS Soccer here. I wanted to follow up on Jeremiah's question. Are there any other young players? You talked about, your desire to bring forward some of the young guys in the offseason. Has anyone else caught your eye? Is there anyone else that you could share? Maybe he's on the radar coming into a bigger role with the first team?
Yeah, I've mentioned these names before. I mean, we have a 16-year-old Juan Alvarez, talented, clever, left-footed, attacking player. You guys know about Ethan, Shandon, Reed. You've heard me say his name before, Reed Baker Whitting. Sota Kitahara has done well in preseason. Another midfielder, we've watched him, Charles, from his academy days, and all of a sudden it's like he hit a growth spurt and his calves are big and strong and he's physical. So, boys at that age develop a little faster or slower. So he physically now can take the demands of, playing against men. Josh, we talked about Danny Leva's come back from some injuries. He's done great. Happy to see that because Danny's a tremendous talent. Cody Baker's our young right back that has some potential. And I'd probably stay most of the time with Defiance, but he's been really good in preseason. We have a young left back, Taka Sasaki, who his enthusiasm is really infectious within the group. I mean, the kid, eyes open, ears open, does what you ask and then some. And the other guy that we've had in camp, AB Sissoko, tremendous talent, young player, young center back, has a famous uncle, but he's not afraid of living in that shadow. He's his own man. I've spoken to him about that. Really well-grounded, cerebral player, which I like. I like smart soccer players. So, the crop has been good this year. The coaching staff's excited.
Yeah, I'm gathering that you're going to have to keep those two bubbles separate for the foreseeable future in terms of the first team and the second team not having intermingling.
Well, right now, they're not starting till May 9th, I believe. They announced their first game. I'm not sure exactly the exact date, but we'll keep them around as long as we can before we have to make a decision as to who's signed with the first team, who's staying up with us, and who's going back down to the Defiance bubble. Yes, that is correct.
Thanks.
Hey, Coach. Kendra D. St. Aubin here with Minnesota United. I know you hit a little bit on the 2-forward system and what you're looking for going forward and going ahead with that. But also I heard your conversation with Alexi Lalas the other day just about replacing Jordan Morris, not just his goals and assists, but overall what he does, like the stats that you can't even read on a sheet of paper, but what he brings to the game, how he draws defenses out, what he's capable of doing. Who do you see? How do you see that being manufactured from your club going forward without Jordan Morris, his score sheet stats?
Kendra, great question. I don't know. I don't have the answer. I wish I had the answer. I wish I could tell you so you could relay that back to Adrian and everybody, but I don't have the answer. Jordan was such an integral part of our team, and we looked, well, 3 guys best 11. I mean, that's pretty impressive, right? In the attacking part of the field. So I think it has to be by committee. I think if you followed our team, throughout the years, we've always kind of started and we kind of tinker and we kind of figure out how the pieces, because you always get new pieces every year, right? You always add players, and, we've added players mid-season, and how do they fit in? And then I might be able to answer your question, maybe July, August, September, when I kind of get a feel for it. But there is some concern that we're able to replicate what he did in stretching the field and how we're going to do that. And, there is, with any new formation, and, we've always had our outside backs push higher up the field anyway. How does that relationship work? There's more room maybe for Brad Smith, because last year it was, Nuhu Tolo, who's more of a, lockdown left back, and we let Jordan kind of do what he wanted in front of him. So there's all sorts of these little questions that we have to answer for ourselves before I can answer your question.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Brian, going back to some of the question about the young players, is it fair to say that this year presents a little bit more of an opportunity for guys to earn some playing time than it has in the past, when the lineups felt a little bit more set?
Well, yeah, I think I can answer that in a common sense way, Jeremiah. Look, our roster has been changing slowly but surely. I mean, if you look at the roster from, when we took over 2016, 2017, 2018, what was the makeup of the group from 12 to 24? What was the makeup of our our so-called reserve guys? It was probably more experienced guys. They were the Harry Ships of the world. Will Bruin was a, guy that wasn't necessarily a starter. He could have been a starter on other teams. Jordy DeLam. I always had 3 center back. I mean, the roster makeup is just different. That's number one. And number two, I think just by default, because of a compressed season, I mean, you're going to have to rotate more guys. We again have a lot of super talented players that might miss time because of the various international competitions that we're in, or the world still has. And that's going to create more opportunity. So by default, I think the young kids, yes, they're going to get more chances.
Guys, any final questions for Brian before we let him go?
Brian, I guess I was just curious to see how much of CCL play did you see? MLS teams came up with 2 draws, 3 wins in this first week. Any thoughts on that?
Tough winning in Honduras, I know that. So I felt for Gio. The entertainment value, Nico, of that tackle in Costa Rica, I mean, that was, I mean, Philadelphia, welcome to CONCACAF. I didn't watch the game last night, but obviously a positive result for MLS and Columbus. So we're paying attention. I mean, I can't tell you that I watch every minute of every game, Nico, but I certainly pay attention because I want our teams to do well. I want MLS teams to do well in this competition.
Are you saying that you thought that was a red on that tackle?
Oh, for sure. For sure. It was reckless. I mean, come on. But everybody was fighting. There was mass confrontation. And then the guy was laying on the ground. Nobody was taking care of him. And then all of a sudden he jumps back up again to join the fray. I mean, it was good TV. It was CONCACAF TV. I loved it.
Thanks, Coach.
Brian, with everyone being eligible, I guess next week for, I think next week for vaccines, has anyone within the team already been able to get scheduled? Is there a plan for how to make that happen, or are each of the players basically up to their own devices to make appointments and get it themselves?
Jeremiah, I believe there's a plan in place. I think more information on that will be coming out. What I would say is that, again, we pride ourselves on being a pretty, cognizant, aware club. We don't want to, do anything that isn't legal or we shouldn't do or whatever. We're obviously aware of, sports teams, individuals, the challenge of getting, and I know that there's been some staff that have got them by necessity. So when it's our turn, I'm sure we'll be following the rules and trying to make that happen, because I think it's important to do what's right. Get everybody, there's people in Mississippi that don't want to take it, or there's extra doses here or there. I mean, for the people that want them, I think we should use the